If you're a fan of a struggling NFL franchise, do you often reminisce on a season where you thought, oh yeah, our team was different? Examples of this phenomenon include the 2017 Jaguars, 2010 Jets, 2020 Browns, and the 2018 Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are a proud franchise with a rich history of winning in the 20th century. In the 21st century, they've only made the playoffs a grand total of 6 times. What I find interesting about the Bears, though, is whenever they punch their tickets in, it's not by a thread. They're often at or near the top of the NFC food chain. The same is true here. As a neutral fan, it is my desire to introduce you to the lightning in a bottle that is the 2018 Chicago Bears, one of my favorite NFL teams of all time. As I said before, the 21st century Bears have mostly been a shade under mediocre. In the first 18 years of the millennium, their win percentage hovers at .476. At 19th best, it could be worse, but it could also be a lot better. But from 1922, in their first season as the Chicago Bears, all the way to 1999, their win percentage of .582 ranks at 5th. So what happened to them to deserve this fall from grace? Among other things like bad ownership, take a look at the top 10 in win percentage from 2000 to 2017. Most of these teams had pretty stable play from the quarterback position. The Bears have not. That's something the franchise is desperate to change in 2017, when they gave up significant draft capital to move up one spot in that year's draft, taking North Carolina quarterback Mitch Trubisky 2nd overall. To show everyone he means business, he'll later change his name to Mitchell Trubisky. Giving up that level of draft capital is risky. After all, Trubisky started just 13 games with the Tar Heels, so general manager Ryan Pace is betting a lot on someone that raw becoming someone very good. Trubisky shows some flashes in his rookie season, but he's still quite raw, as are the 5-11 Bears, who after the season make a coaching change. Out is John Fox, in is Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. Nagy is revolutionary for the NFL in that he wears a visor despite being bald, so it's a good thing he's here to make sure that Trubisky is covered. If the Bears are going to have a great 2018, they have to nail the offseason. On paper, it looks like they do. Their leading receiver in 2017 had 614 yards, ouch, so they addressed the position in a big way by signing Pro Bowl wideout Allen Robinson, teaming him up with Taylor Gabriel, tight end Trey Burton, and rookie wideout Anthony Miller. They'll join a set of skill players that include Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. On defense, they're building something impressive, but they'll need one piece to elevate them to the top. With the cost of a couple first-round picks, they do so in a trade for All-Pro outside linebacker Khalil Mack. Chicago also somehow got a second-round pick in the trade for all their trouble, and Mack gets to go to a much more talented defense than the one he had in Oakland, supervised by legendary defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. Now, the NFC North looks like a buzzsaw in 2018, but with the offseason moves made, the Chicago Bears have actual playoff aspirations they'll need to address. What better way for the season to start off then than by facing your biggest rivals? Once a more back-and-forth competition with the edge going to the Bears, their rivalry with the Packers became much more lopsided starting in the 1990s in favor of Green Bay. As the league's most historic rivalry, though, the NFL loves squaring these two off in primetime, as will be the case tonight at Lambeau Field. The only way the Bears' first drive of the 2018 season could start off any better is if they scored a touchdown using one play. They needed 10 to do that here, but the opening script showcases a whole lot of creativity and a whole lot of misdirection to give the Bears an early lead. Up 2 scores in the second quarter, odds of winning doubled when Packers All-Pro quarterback Aaron Rodgers left the game when a sack from Roy Robertson Harris injured Rodgers' knee. Replacing him was backup Deshaun Kaiser, arguably the league's worst starting quarterback a year ago. It is with this quarterback change that the arrival of Khalil Mack finally becomes a reality. On a 3rd and goal that would likely end in points for the Packers, Mack prevents that from happening by recovering a strip sack of Kaiser, a strip sack he created. A drive later, Kaiser is in big trouble after a sack from rookie linebacker Roquan Smith caused by pressure from Mack, and Kaiser is in bigger trouble after a hit from Robertson Harris forces an errant throw. The throw is picked off by Mack and returned to the house to increase the Bears' first half lead to 17-0. According to NBC, broadcasting this very game, Mack became the first player in 36 years to record a sack, pick six, forced fumble, and fumble recovery in the same half of the same game. Well, that's enough of the Deshaun Kaiser experiment. Let's load up Aaron Rodgers on painkillers and trot him back out there facing a 20-0 deficit to begin the second half. Green Bay can only get 3 points in the third quarter, but start off the fourth on a deep touchdown to cut the lead to 10. Another quick touchdown drive cuts the lead to 3 with plenty of time left, but the Bears spend 6.5 minutes chewing clock and forcing the Packers to use all of their 3 timeouts. On a 4th and 2 from the Packers' 14, a first down that stays in bounds would seal a Bears win. Instead, Matt Nagy elects for kicker Cody Parkey to drill a 32-yard field goal. On the Packers' second play of their ensuing drive, cornerback Kyle Fuller comes dangerously close to a surefire game-ending interception, but cannot corral it in. And on the next play, Rodgers threads a pass down the middle to Randall Cobb, who outraces all 11 Bears defenders for a 75-yard go-ahead touchdown. A failed comeback drive later, a 20-0 Bears lead had turned into a humiliating 24-23 loss against a rival that once again made them their punching bag. A lot of good happened in this game, but perhaps the most infamous play came from the first quarter. On the Bears' second drive, Trubisky appeared to miss a wide-open Trey Burton in the end zone. Trubisky's vision is further mocked in a widely spread Photoshop where Trubisky and Burton are the only players on camera. So, pressure was building in Week 2 as the Bears again played on primetime as hosts to the Seattle Seahawks. Fortunately, the Fates scratched Chicago's back this time and expected nothing in return. For the second straight week, Khalil Mack forced a strip sack, one of 6 sacks for the Bears on Monday night. 2 heroes put the game out of reach in the fourth quarter. First, let's get introduced to corner Prince Amukamara, signed in free agency. Amukamara undercuts Russell Wilson's throw underneath for the easiest pick 6 of his life. Then, linebacker Danny Trevathan, who already had a sack prior, notched down a second with a strip sack of Wilson that the Bears recovered as they eventually held on to win by 7. It was a true breakout performance by the defense a week after blowing a 3-score lead, and in Week 3 they got the privilege of facing an atrocious Arizona Cardinals team that had just scored 6 points through 2 games. Now, let's play a little true and false. The Bears didn't allow the Cardinals to score any points in this game. That's false. They allowed 14 first-quarter points and trailed by 11 at halftime. But now it's time to meet another hero. Safety Eddie Jackson, Chicago's 4th-round selection a year ago. With under 11 minutes in the third quarter, Jackson steals a deep pass from Cardinals quarterback Sam Bradford at the Bears' 33. It sets the tone for the first of 4 Chicago takeaways on the day. The Bears, right after Jackson's pick, marched down the field with a touchdown to cut the deficit to 4. A Sherrick McManus pick and Cody Parkey field goal decreases the deficit to 1 entering the fourth. And Khalil Mack's 3rd consecutive game with a strip sack soon allows Parkey to kick another 3-pointer to give the Bears their first lead of the day. Sam Bradford is then benched for rookie Josh Rosen, whose first NFL drive doesn't go any better as he's picked off by another hero, slot corner Bryce Callahan. The Bears' defense takes it from here as they thwart Arizona's late comeback attempt to move to 2-1. Even so, criticism is running after Mitchell Trubisky for his play. Through 3 games, he has more interceptions than touchdowns. This problem is more egregious considering who they could have traded up for in 2017. Chicago passed on Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson, but let's just say that morally, this will end up being a great decision. What isn't is passing on Texas Tech's Patrick Mahomes, who has one of the most decorated resumes the league has ever seen and will end up winning MVP this very season. So, to help himself out, Trubisky needs to have a strong performance as soon as possible. At last, in Week 4, he answered. Saying the 2018 Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense was made out of Swiss cheese would be an insult that requires an apology to Switzerland, but Trubisky flat out torched Tampa Bay with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 touchdown passes. What's nice about it is that it was the first time in 69 years that a Bears quarterback tossed at least 5 touchdowns in a game. In other words, Trubisky became the first Chicago Bears quarterback to throw at least 5 touchdown passes in the color TV era. Let's introduce you to 2 more heroes. First is receiver Taylor Turbo Gabriel, a favorite target for Trubisky on the day, totaling 104 yards on 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. Second is star returner and receiving back Tariq Cohen, who also had over 100 receiving yards, totaling 174 from scrimmage with a touchdown catch too. Hey, it's time for advanced stats. Very sorry. In their first 3 games, the expected points the Bears offense added, according to Pro Football Reference, totaled in the negative. This is calculated using down, distance, and field position to give out estimated point value. In Week 4, the offense's EPA was an absurd 33.53. For reference, that's higher than any game from the 2018 Chiefs, who ended up fielding the 3rd highest scoring offense in NFL history. Against the quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick that became the first to put up 3 consecutive games of 400-plus passing yards in a season, the Bears' defense allowed him to throw 126. Mack provided his 4th consecutive game with a strip sack, making him the first player to achieve this feat in 13 years. The Bears won 48-10 to move to 3-1, looking nothing like the pushover teams they fielded in seasons past. After a bye, Week 6 presented another easy victory on paper. Miami Dolphins quarterback Ryan Tannehill was inactive due to a shoulder injury, prompting backup Brock Osweiler to take his place. If you've never watched Brock Osweiler, just know that when he did start, he was one of the league's worst starting quarterbacks, so the Bears should take this one decisively, right? Wrong. Trubisky had another outstanding day, but threw a costly red zone interception in the 4th quarter and nearly threw a play before an actual touchdown pass. Still, he can't really be blamed for what ended up being a loss when the defense suddenly let receiver Albert Wilson torch them to the tune of 6 catches, 155 yards, and 2 very long 4th quarter touchdowns. Add in fumbles from Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard, no sacks from the Bears defense, Mack suffering an ankle injury, and Cody Parkey missing a long game-winning field goal in overtime, and you have all the ingredients to a stunning loss that dropped Chicago to 3-2. Coming to town the next week is the New England Patriots. The Bears actually jumped out to a 10-point lead before immediately allowing a kickoff return touchdown, then later allowed a blocked punt return for a touchdown. That ended up being the difference maker when Trubisky's last-second Hail Mary pass was actually caught, but stopped 1 yard short in a 38-31 loss. Back to 500 for these Bears, and with some more bad news. Mack is expected to miss some time with the same ankle injury he suffered in Miami. Allen Robinson, having struggled to return to form a year after tearing his ACL, also misses some time. Thankfully, their next game is at home and is a get-right affair against a not-so-fantastic New York Jets football team. The resulting 24-10 win isn't flashy, but is a win nonetheless. That will be saved for Week 9 at Buffalo. Let's play another game. Can you tell the difference between a Bears defense with Khalil Mack and a defense without Khalil Mack? On this day, the answer is no. 4 sacks, 4 takeaways, and 2 defensive touchdowns, scored by Eddie Jackson and pass rusher Leonard Floyd. Kyle Fuller and safety Adrian Amos also had huge days, and the 41-9 win saw the Bears defense add an expected points value of 29.93. Even better news for the Week 10 matchup against the Detroit Lions. Allen Robinson and Khalil Mack are both back. Coincidentally, these are 2 of that game's heroes. Allen Robinson finally broke out as a Bear with 6 catches, 133 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His breakout joined by another breakout from Anthony Miller's 122 yards and a touchdown on 5 catches. Khalil Mack's 2 sacks in his return were a third of Chicago's 6 on quarterback Matthew Stafford. And a pair of interceptions were created by Bryce Callahan and Prince Amukamara, who also disrupted 2 passes and forced 2 fumbles. To top it all off, an excellent Trubisky performance results in the Bears winning their 3rd straight game. Lot to remember from this one. The most memorable performance, though, is from Cody Parkey, and it's not a good one. Again, the Bears won this game by 2 scores. That cannot be stressed enough. But Parkey etched his name in NFL lore by missing 4 kicks in this game. It wasn't even that he missed, it's how he missed. Attached to the field goal post are these prong-like things known as uprights. If you hit them, your kicks usually doink off without making it through the post, though there have been some exceptions. Parkey's 4 missed kicks all hit the upright. I've watched thousands of NFL games in my lifetime, thousands of missed kicks. I cannot recall a kicker hitting the uprights 4 times in any game. Still, a win's a win, and it's an important one when the Bears again play on Sunday Night Football as hosts to a Vikings team they need to fend off to secure control of the NFC North. We've had various players step up as heroes for this 2018 Bears team. For this win, the hero in Week 11 is Akeem Hicks. Against Minnesota, he collected a sack, 2 quarterback hits, and tied a franchise record for tackles for loss, with 5 of them in this game. In flashier performances, a late pick 6 from Eddie Jackson on the first play of a game-tying drive attempt officially sealed it as the Bears hung on to win by 5. Cody Parkey even recovered from his Lions meltdown in a polar opposite performance that saw him lavished with cheers. On the downside, Mitchell Trubisky's up-and-down season reached another down as a passer, and he suffered a shoulder injury on a hit that will sideline him for a couple of games. Filling in for him at quarterback is the master of money-making while doing absolutely nothing. A hero for working smarter, not harder, backup Chase Daniel. Daniel, in a 14-year NFL career, made 74 brief appearances and started in just 5 games, but he managed to make over $40 million in cold hard cash. The resulting Thanksgiving game at Detroit sees Chase Daniel perform actually not that bad. He's no All-Pro in this game, but he's efficient enough for a defense that asks him to take it easy on mistakes, which he does. With 6 minutes to go, the Lions are looking to drive and take the lead in a tie ball game. One of 3 heroes along with Daniel for the day is Eddie Jackson, who has something to say about Detroit's go-ahead drive attempt on the first play. Jackson sees Matthew Stafford's eyes all the way through, picking the pass off and scooting to the end zone to give the Bears the lead. This pick 6 off Stafford will mark his 5th touchdown in his first 2 seasons, and this will end up getting him praise from Hall of Fame safety Ed Reed, who in his entire career had 9 total defensive scores. As the Lions make it to the Bears 11 with a minute and change left, the third knight in shining armor happens to be Kyle Fuller. Fuller runs Michael Roberts' route for him, possibly committing uncalled defensive pass interference, but no matter, and picks off the pass. Chicago runs out the clock to earn their 5th straight win to move to 8-3. Daniel gets the start again in Week 13 against a miserable Giants team that's as much fun to watch as gameplay footage of Paper Mario Sticker Star. They blew an easy game on paper against the Dolphins in overtime. Surely they can't do it again here. It turns out Chase Daniel has turned back into a pumpkin, only to the surprise of Bears fans who don't have cable or internet or in fact don't even watch football. He's picked off twice and fumbles the ball 4 times. But the Bears' efforts this time are carried by Tariq Cohen. As a receiver, Cohen caught an absurd 12 passes for an even more absurd 156 yards. And his game-tying touchdown pass, that's right, pass, to Anthony Miller as time expired in regulation, sent this insane game to overtime. This time, Cody Parkey would not miss a game-winning field goal in overtime. The problem was he didn't get a chance to kick a game-tying one. 8-4. On a positive note, Trubisky is making his return from injury, and that's important because the Bears' next game is again at home, on Sunday Night Football, against a red-hot herd of Los Angeles Rams. Trubisky in his first game back is absolutely terrible. However, the Bears' defense ensured that his quarterback counterpart in Jared Goff played even worse. Chicago picked off the 2018 Pro Bowler a grand total of 4 times. The game was tied 6-6 entering the second half, but just seconds into the third quarter, a sack from nose tackle Eddie Goldman on Goff in the end zone resulted in a safety. And on the ensuing drive, Trubisky led the Bears to the only touchdown scored from either team in the entire game. Khalil Mack jotted down game number 6 with a sack and a forced fumble, one of 15 players to have that amount in a season ever. The Bears defense shut out the Rams in the second half, securing their first winning season since 2012 with a high-scoring 15-6 victory. This was no victory against a weak opponent, though. This was against what ended up being one of the greatest offenses in NFL history. The 2018 Rams scored 527 points, 11th all-time back then, and as of this writing, still inside the top 15. They had scored at least 29 points in every game up to that point. May I remind you, they scored 6 in this game. By far the biggest outlier in what was otherwise a sensational regular season of scoring. This is getting really fun for a team that's finding all sorts of ways to win football games. And post-game, it's even more fun when they establish Club Dub, partying after games with the help of Matt Nagy, who after every victory gets the Bears roster to shout boom. How can you not love that? The Bears' next game is a revenge matchup against the Packers, but this is not the same intimidating Packers team of the past. They're beat up. They fired their Super Bowl winning head coach mid-season. They're going to finish this year with a losing record. Aaron Rodgers isn't throwing picks, but he too has been maimed from a fractured tibia and MCL sprain he suffered in the first Bears game. If the Bears pull this off, they can clinch the NFC North division and slay their most hated rivals, all with one stone. For this goal to be obtained, they'll need Mitchell Trubisky to play at his best. He does. Tied going into the fourth quarter, his strike in the end zone to Trey Burton puts the Bears up by 7. They'll also need guys like Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd to play their best up front. They both do, combining for 4.5 sacks and 5 hits on Rodgers. They'll additionally need the defense to help seal the deal this time. Roquan Smith and Eddie Jackson do. The Bears are heading into the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. It was also their first win over the Packers in Chicago since then. Not many people gave these Bears a shot at winning the NFC North, but with one of my favorite collections of talent from any NFL roster ever, they did so. The only thing left to conquer in the regular season was a playoff bye. The Rams win out. The Saints clinched the top seed right before Week 17. The best these monsters of the Midway can do is clinch the 3rd seed. A few unfortunate plays could have changed things. Kyle Fuller's dropped interception in the season opener. The stunning loss to the Giants. I would say any of the plays in the Dolphins game, though to be honest, the Bears got a gift from God in overtime when Miami fumbled the ball on the goal line. Those are the breaks that great teams gotta get over. And if they can't, they gotta find another way to get through. The Bears ensure they do in the last 2 games. Though they score 14 against the 49ers, they allow just 9. Against the Vikings team that needs to win to get into the playoffs, the Bears refuse to let them have it. Sure, the 2018 Chicago Bears will have to settle with the 3rd seed, but at 12-4, they've improved on their 2017 record by a whopping 7 games. Because of this sharp and drastic turnaround, Matt Nagy is that season's recipient for Coach of the Year. Vic Fangio, in charge of the league's best defense, jots down the league's Assistant Coach of the Year award. First team All-Pros came for Eddie Jackson, again 5 defensive touchdowns in 2 seasons is crazy. Kyle Fuller, whose 7 interceptions and 21 pass disruptions led the league. Tariq Cohen, who got it as a punt returner. And Khalil Mack, the truly over-the-top force that pushed the Bears to the NFL's elite. Mack missed 2 games and had to settle for 12.5 sacks. Somewhere else, the very same Raiders team that traded him in the offseason finished with only 13 sacks. That's the 4th fewest in any season where sacks were counted, including strike-shortened ones. Mack finishing a half sack short of Oakland's total was simply a generous bit of mercy he provided for his old team. On offense, Mitchell Trubisky made history as the first Bears quarterback since Jim McMahon 33 years prior to make a Pro Bowl. While he was a sliver above average in passer rating, his efficiency on the ground helped him rank an amazing 3rd in ESPN QBR. Let's get back to the defense, which is also neat. This unit ranked 1st in points allowed, points per drive allowed, first downs allowed, rushing yards allowed, passer rating allowed, yards per attempt allowed, adjusted net yards per attempt allowed, takeaways, percentage of drives ending in takeaways, and this stat, expected points added. In 2nd place for 2018 among all defenses in expected points added were the Ravens, with a total of 39.88. The 2018 Bears finished with an EPA total of 95.50. When the Bears defeated the Vikings in Week 17, it allowed the defending Super Bowl champs to face Chicago in the wildcard round in Minnesota's place. For a 2nd straight season, the Philadelphia Eagles were forced to make a playoff run with their backup quarterback Nick Foles, running the table at the last moment to squeeze into the playoffs. The Bears were 6.5 home favorites, but with a caveat. They would be without Eddie Jackson, who injured his ankle on the very same Week 15 interception against the Packers that clinched the NFC North. They'll also be without corner Bryce Callahan, out with a broken foot suffered in the Rams game. But the Bears have pulled off wins in the games Khalil Mack missed. They've done this without their best players before. On a bigger stage, they can do it again. The Bears' offense was kept at bay in the first half, but they held on to a 6-3 halftime lead thanks to a pair of second-quarter interceptions from Roquan Smith and Adrian Amos. On the final drive of the first half, they had both chances to score more points and none at all. Trubisky's throw to Anthony Miller that would have put the Bears well inside the Eagles' red zone was broken up by defensive back Cre'Von LeBlanc. On the flip side, Trubisky a few plays later nearly killed the drive entirely when safety Trey Sullivan dropped the easiest interception he will never have. Chicago was fortunate to escape that scenario with 3 points, but a Foles touchdown to tight end Dallas Goedert in the third quarter gave the Eagles a 10-6 lead. By the way, the Bears defense only had 10 men on that play. For casuals, you're supposed to have 11. Later, a 10-9 deficit with 12 minutes to go in the fourth, the Bears offense finally came through on a touchdown from Trubisky to Allen Robinson, who was playing at unconscious levels today. The Bears led 16-15 after a failed 2-point try, and the two teams traded possessions before the Eagles took a 3.5-minute drive to the Bears' 2, just over a minute left to decide who moves on to the divisional round. First and goal, Khalil Mack stops a Darren Sproles carry at the line of scrimmage. Second goal, Mack again stops a Darren Sproles carry at the line of scrimmage, this time with help from Eddie Goldman. Third and goal, Kyle Fuller breaks up a pass at the goal line intended for former Chicago Bear Alshon Jeffrey. Fourth and goal, one play away from a legendary goal line stand, Foles rolls out, fires to the end zone, and hits receiver Golden Tate for the go-ahead score. Chicago was able to stop the 2-point try, but they trailed 16-15 with 56 seconds left and one timeout to spare. Fortunately, Tariq Cohen on the kickoff set up shop by returning the ball to the Bears' 42. A huge second down throw from Trubisky to Robinson brought the Bears to the Eagles' 33, and another completion to Robinson moved it to the 25, where, after a couple of plays, they sent out Cody Parkey to make the biggest kick of his life. Parkey had been in trouble since Week 10, having missed 7 combined kicks while being absurdly accurate with hitting the uprights. But up to the fourth quarter, his 3 field goal makes were the entire offense, and from 43 yards out, a make would completely reverse his narrative in Chicago for the better. He makes it here, but the Eagles call a timeout beforehand to ice him. Time for a redo. NBC cameras captured a stunned Matt Nagy with his jaw open, unable to comprehend what just happened. Bears offensive tackle Bobby Massey, a blocker on the play who had let pressure through, picked up a dejected Parkey and comforted him. No 25-year-old would ever want to be put in the situation Cody Parkey had found himself in. Chicago sports fans as a whole can be cruel, and after the clock hit 0, Bears fans who stayed showered him with boos as he left the night in the Soldier Field tunnel. Later, it'll be revealed the kick was partially blocked by Philadelphia's Trayvon Hester. Others, however, noted the ball was kicked at a lower angle, doing little to help Parkey's cause. This play, later known as the double doink, has made the 2018 Chicago Bears one of the great what-ifs of recent times. But the offense wasn't blameless. They hadn't showed up at any point until the fourth quarter, and in fact, it was Parkey who was the reason the Bears had a shot to begin with. The defense, while solid, dealt with injuries and only generated 1 sack, and also gave up the game-winning touchdown drive from Nick Foles to Golden Tate. That's the unfortunate break with kickers. No matter how good you are in a given game, all will be forgotten when you forget to make the kick. You're all alone as your team scapegoat. The Chicago Bears have never been the same since. Parkey didn't help himself much after the game either way, after an appearance on the Today Show days after the double doink, an appearance that irritated Matt Nagy, likely because Nagy claimed Parkey never ran it by with him. That was the final straw. Parkey was released when free agency began, having played 25% of his intended contract. Nagy was soon under heavy fire for starting an off-season kicker search that brought in a total of 9 kickers, and he was under hotter fires when some of the kickers were put off by Nagy talking to them about his growing obsession with Parkey's missed field goal. You want to know how far that went? The Bears literally had participants try 43-yard field goals. On one Friday in May, they went and combined 2 of 8 from that area. The Bears eventually settled on Eddie Pinheiro as their starting kicker. He too was on the field for just 1 season before a groin injury ended his stint in the Windy City. As for the rest of the Bears, they regressed to 8-8 in 2019 and 2020, the latter of which did earn them a playoff spot as the 7th seed no one was impressed by. Mitchell Trubisky never built on his 2018 campaign. Matt Nagy could not develop the offense into something special, and the Bears defense lost several pieces in the 2019 offseason, including Adrian Amos, Bryce Callahan, and coordinator Vic Fangio, replaced by Chuck Pagano. Pagano still led a top 10 unit, but they could no longer cover for a lackluster offense. Thus, Chicago still hasn't made the playoffs since 2020, hasn't had a winning record since 2018, hasn't won a playoff game since 2010, and all of the players on the 2018 roster have since left the team. It's a lot to ask by suggesting the Bears would have gone on a Super Bowl run had the double doink not occurred. But that team was in every game they played at the very least. We saw how they took a historic Rams offense and made them look like a Pop Warner football team. It's also implied that year's Super Bowl champs, the Patriots, saw the Bears' game plan and used it to their advantage when they took down the Rams on the game's biggest stage. The only question left unanswered was how the Bears would fare against the top-seeded Saints and All-Pro quarterback Drew Brees. Who can really say? But we all would have loved that matchup. And it's understandable that any Bears fan probably looks back on the 2018 season with bittersweet emotions. But I'm serious when I say they remain one of my favorite football teams in my 20-plus years of football fandom. You had a defense with Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Kyle Fuller, Roquan Smith, Eddie Jackson, Leonard Floyd, Adrian Amos, Prince Amukamara, and so much more. I even like the skill players on offense. Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, Taylor Gabriel, Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard, Trey Burton, Cody Whitehair, James Daniels, Kyle Long, and of course, Mitchell Trubisky, who never became that franchise quarterback the Bears were looking for, but is currently enjoying a career as a backup for the Buffalo Bills. In the same season where the Kansas City Chiefs and Los Angeles Rams were inventing all sorts of new ways to play football, the Chicago Bears too broke the rules on how to win games. Every game, I was looking forward to what they could do next and who the best player in a given week would be. When the game replays dropped the day after on YouTube and NFL Game Pass, they were the first team I would watch. Safe to say, the more time goes on, the more I've appreciated how much joy this team really brought me, and as someone who has never been a Bears fan. I think it's because a team like this reminds me of why I loved watching sports in the first place. Watching all these incredible players and performances jam-packed into one season, one team, playing the game of football at a level many of us wish our actual teams would play at. That, more than anything, is what I remember the most about the 2018 Chicago Bears. Hey, what's up? It's me again. Thanks again, guys, for watching. You guys are the best, far from the worst. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. We are going to keep making videos like this one. That's what all these football accounts say on YouTube, so I'll say it here. And hey, I'll see you next time. Take it easy.